Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, Emma Raducanu, in reverse, Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm doing well. I did have a friend of mine ask me if I was watching the Luke Gledall derby the other week. Last week it was, good. Wasn't it? Yeah, but yeah. No, I'm not much like that late Emma Raducanu. What do you pronounce it? Raducanu. I guess because as your lot get a lot in the media, you're probably very au fait with how to pronounce that term. But I've only ever seen her name. She's the nation's
sweetheart.
The nation's sweetheart from wherever it is in Shinkanaja.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
Toronto, I think she was born in.
Toronto 3D. Good stuff.
But also a bit of cause of celebration for yourself this week. You're 21 again yesterday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah. I think there's just going to get into some birthday shout outs here. So
okay.
So it is birthday period. I found out from someone I follow on LinkedIn in the learning and development community that they basically provided that my birthday is the fourth most common birthday because people seem to like to doink in the cold December time. So that's why September babies are very common.
Ah.
But yeah, it was my birthday, and I'd also like to give a shout out to my friend Rosie, whose birthday today, and my stepsister Rachel. Their birthdays are today while we're recording, and also tomorrow. It is a happy 30th for roving golfer at Liam Palmer.
Roaming golfer, yeah.
Was it roaming or roving?
Roaming, I think, is what I'm going for.
I think frothing as well. I like to think he's frothing at the mouth like that. He's got the goal rabies in him.
Voluminous vessel of goals, Liam Palmer.
And also a shout out to Matt Bonehead, one of our listeners who commented about a year ago on our Brown Food Tastes Good episode. Remember when we thought Izzy Brown was any good? And he said, love this podcast. Is my birthday same day as Liam Palmer. So shout out to you. This episode will be coming out on your birthday and the 30th birthday of Liam Joseph Palmer. I don't know if Joseph is still there, but shouldn't all fictional middle names start with a J in the middle?
Yes, absolutely. Or H, because you've got the whole Jesus H Christ thing.
That we do. As you can probably tell from the audio quality, this is a bit of a different gravy praise or grumble episode with Rich from Wisewood. Rich is actually a bit close to White. He's actually outside Middlewood training ground. Can you tell us a bit why, Rich, you're doing such a thing?
Do you want the fun reason or the real reason? The fun reason is I'm here to see live what happens on this hallowed ground, the training ground. Making my second visit after Alan Irvin's era to just pop my head in the door, check that they're doing what they should be doing because the results on the pitch are lacking as it stands. So as far as I can tell, nobody's here, which is pretty lackadaisical. And
you're surprised that directly after a match they're not going back in and doing some more training, Rich.
I'd have them doing laps.
There you go.
in their underwear as well, probably. But that's just for me, just for Daddy. But we're trying something because we've had this odd occasion where I go to the match and then it's a bit of a travel because obviously I live the other side of the gorgeous Pennines, so there's always a bit of a quandary. And I have some visitors today, so I was thinking maybe this is a better way to work things if it's not unlistenable to do things hot on the heels of the game as we would normally do for an away game, or as we've done during the old pandemic, the lockdown specials that went on longer than normals. So I thought let's give it a whirl.
Let's do it. Yeah. And I mean, don't worry, Rich, it's already a little bit unlistenable because we're going to be recapping a disappointing game of Sheffield Wednesday football. So people may just be skipping this episode. I don't think it's going to be our highest downloaded episode, Rich.
I don't know. People might want to hear what we've got to say about.
Well, you'll have to give us some jewels. The beauty of this, everybody, is I can see. Is this thanks to Britain's thriving 5G network? I can see you in crystal clear vision for this page. So, this is better than your internet, Chester, Rich.
It's much better than my internet at home in Chester.
Well, maybe this is what we'll do now. Maybe this is what we'll do.
Well, I was gonna say, Luke, you're my favorite Virgo, but after reeling off all those names, I don't know now. You got some stiff competition, but definitely, I mean, I'd say between you and Liam Palmer for the running.
So you think for my birthday, the 17th of September, like it's a toss up between me, Anastasia, and the late Keith Flint?
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
It's very funny that that's a particularly common birthday, by the way, because it's a bit of a random. If it was New Year's, you sort of think like the first week. I suppose it's not always like precisely like a metronome 9 months.
Well, but the interesting thing they said was basically this was kind of like taken from a data from North American birth dates between 1994 and 2014. By the way, listeners, I'd rather talk about this than anything Sheffield Wednesday related. So
exactly.
Let's keep talking about this for another 5-10 minutes. So interestingly enough, I was showing it to my excellent girlfriend who made my day yesterday just absolutely fantastic. So thank you, Valerie. So I was showing her the stats of this, and it was saying that like basically they found most days are pretty common, but I think the September ones are about 12,000 odd on average a day. Okay. But then they found that like Christmas Day and New Year's Day are actually the least. And I basically offered to my girlfriend saying maybe people are just holding it in on those days.
I was going to say holding it in. Holding it in is exactly the phrase I was going to land on.
Which we all hold in something over Christmas, right? When we've had a few Brussels sprouts. So
I can not today, love. I've had the turkey brining for a week.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
On that note, should we crack on and talk about? I think we have a little bit of breaking hoo-hoos. Breaking hoo-hoos.
Luke Jackson's gone out on loan, so and the latest in a now increasingly long line of is he Luke Jackson? Is he Joshua Jackson? But that's another youngster out the door to the National League and to get some experience, get some mileage under his belt. So another positive sign.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Luke Jackson. It is for real.
It is for real. This is the meat and potato end of football.
And that's literally all the news. We did hear some sad news about, speaking about former Sheffield Wednesday young goalkeepers and former young Sheffield Wednesday goalkeeper, the sad news that the club talked about Aaron Jameson's, former Sheffield Wednesday goalkeeper Aaron Jameson's son Jude being diagnosed with cancer at a very young age. So I don't know why I made that connection. That was probably in the midst of our usual kind of last couple of weeks of just lull of like, Instagram footage of people having fun on the training ground. I guess that was something.
Yeah.
Also made me just have a moment of remembering. I remember we thought that Aaron Jameson was quite a decent young keeper.
I think so too. Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what happened to his footballing career. I think he's left the world of football, or just as a part-time football, and pursued a real 9-to-5 career, I think, by the sound of things. But
then I suppose we were in that embarrassment of riches period of time, weren't we? We had a pretty tremendous run of goalkeepers around his.
We did. So we didn't have to find out whether that's find out that the Joey Wildsmiths and the Cameron Dawsons were much cop because we had better options. But anyway, that's very sad news, and I think ourselves, everybody in the Sheffield Wednesday family's thoughts are out to him, and I believe there's some fundraising stuff to raise some money, which is always fantastic.
Yeah, very worthy cause.
That's really all there is for Wednesday news right now, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think it's great to sort of hit out on that maudlin vibe as we consider this weekend's match. But some changes, with this was so I had one of these days where left probably slightly later than was ideal, and was then kind of like watching my ETA on Google Maps just tick up slowly as I drove along, and then kind of mad dash to the ground, and arriving in a sweaty mess.
Seeing everybody, I just want to say I have the benefit of the video element of this, which you do not. So I just want to say, seeing Rich sat in his reasonably priced car. What car are you rocking, Rich? Can we talk about
Kia
this?
Ceed.
A Kia Ceed.
Yes.
You're spreading your Kia Ceed across the land, Rich.
Oh.
I really want to see like a half earnest, half tedious as fuck video blog from Rich about his away days. Oh, I'm just gonna get a KFC now.
For KFC today, it was the Zinger Tower, which was all right. Not one best, but it was all right.
I like the bit where he talks about the roads he takes and like compares them to how usually. It's my favorite bit.
Yeah, just straight Route 1, go down. A roads, B roads. Whatever get you there first. I don't know why I would take on this character to do them.
I don't know, but it's great to see you doing this from your car outside of Middlewood Road training ground.
I do feel a quiet partridge in many ways. But that's the tragedy of running late, is there's no time for KFC. That's out the window. A little treat on the way to the ground is just.
I was disappointed in this vlog episode when he was running late and he cuts the segment of KFC time, and then he cuts back from the header of KFC time, and he turns the cameras like, "It's no time for KFC today. Too late."
Just with like very tragic music over the top as well.
So you were running late today, Rich?
Well, just so I suppose what tends to happen in that situation is you've got this kind of sense of impending, maybe not doom, but a foreboding, a kind of, is it going to be one of those days? Is what your inner dialogue becomes. It probably shouldn't have an inner dialogue, should you? It should be an inner monologue, I think. If you've got dueling voices in there, that's probably not for the best. Anyway, you're
battling the voices in your head, much like Moses.
There's the one voice that
was that article that talked about the voices in Moses de Bargeau's head.
The one that's constantly screaming to do a foul.
Clanger, do a clanger now.
Hoof him, put him in the box.
High five him now. Congratulate him on that goal.
Yeah, that's literally the worst thing you could do. Go on. Pat him on the bum when he goes past. Oh dear. Yeah. So you've obviously got the voice in your head that's constantly telling you that you must kill again, and then the voice that's talking about what you're doing in the day, and this sense, as I say, a sense of foreboding, and but despite that sense of foreboding that should have been there, I was more buoyed up. I was expecting a reaction. I think after a performance like we had at Plymouth last week, I was hoping we would get the flip side of that, a kind of show what we're all about.
Just like a shot in the arm from the COVID vaccine. You're expecting a reaction.
A third top up for our lovely rich club, whilst half the world still lies in misery. That's what I was hoping for. Ooh, a booster dose. Yes, please. So I was kind of hopeful, and we sort of rung the changes. What did you sort of make of the lineup as it was announced?
I thought it was a bit crazy because I had such a long day that I had a big old sleep last night, and so I really cut things very close towards getting things up and running. So
okay,
I just watched on I usually wire up my Chromebook to a projector in my bedroom so I can watch the game on my bedroom wall. But I actually just watched it on my Chromebook on my lap because I was so tired to get things going this morning. So when I first kind of got in, I think I'd seen the lineup on Wednesday's Instagram.
Okay.
I thought that seems interesting. And then I fired the game up, and then I let it pause on the screen where I gave what their thoughts would be on the lineup.
Okay.
So what, a 3-4-1-2, I think they were making out. They were making out a 3-4-1-2, which I think was
wrong.
Incorrect. I think it was a generous reading, but also I think it was probably the best reading you could give with what you've been presented on paper, because they were kind of offering that Hunt and Palmer were wing backs. They were offering 3 at the back.
But that wasn't really how it worked, was it? I thought Hutch was just very much in midfield.
Right. And then so they were kind of offering that basically the one in the hole role was for Shadipo. But yeah, that feels incorrect, because that's the first thing I can think of. As you're saying, Hutch was further up the pitch, but also Shadipo was pretty much predominantly hanging out on the left wing.
On the left wing. I think it was the 4-3-3, but we obviously, I think to address the lack of bite we showed last week, we dropped Hutch into the middle, which is interesting. I think we'd roundly decided that we didn't love that as an idea last season, but this is obviously, it's a different league, it's a different time, and Hutch has looked pretty untouchably good so far this season. So there's a maybe it was a worthwhile experiment in some ways. It meant Dunkley joined Iorfa at centre back, and yeah, Palmer on the left, Hunt on the right, Shadipo on the left wing, and Berahino out on the right wing. Although both of those players came in when we were attacking down one flank. They came in pretty liberally to the middle to sort of bolster the attack. Gregory through the middle, and Bannon and Adeniran were the other two in midfield as well. Nice to see Adeniran back.
Oh yeah.
Pleasing to see his name back on the team sheet.
Always great to see him back on the team sheet.
But it meant
a sore miss.
It meant Wing dropped to the bench, So dropped to the bench, Johnson dropped to the bench, and we completely lost Byers from the lineup altogether. And Brown is also completely absent from the lineup today, and still no sign of Gibson either. So I mean that bench was really interesting in terms of, if we'd lost somebody at the back, I think we were pretty thin. It's pretty much all wingers.
I was having the same thoughts of you, thinking and wondering what's happened to Louis Gibbo.
But I think seeing the Shrewsbury team today, it would be interesting to know Moore's thinking behind it. I don't know that he'll ever be asked to explain, but I wouldn't be surprised if he decided to go with Dunkley on a physical basis, like being the bigger, taller man than Hutch, because they had two absolute monsters. If you saw number 12 for them on his own, he looked massive.
Was that Sam Cosgrove? I
think Cosgrove was number 9.
Right.
12 is the one that scored their goal. Bowman, I think he was called.
Bowman,
yeah. So Bowman, I think Bowman looked a good size anyway. I think he must be 6 foot plus. But Cosgrove was massive and pretty mobile as well, to be fair. They've not been great on the road, which is interesting because they looked fairly well set up to be a difficult away side. Maybe we just helped in that regard. We made them look like a good away side, but just the fact that they do have two kind of aerial threats, and a theme for the game was that we never really got to grips with their two front men throughout. It was a rare struggling performance from Iorfa, and Dunkley was right there alongside him throughout. But we started off pretty brightly.
Yeah, I thought we just came straight out of the blocks. I mean, I think that this game's going to be like a lot of disappointing Sheffield Wednesday performances. I think the bulk of this is probably going to be us seeing out and kind of analysing that first half before we kind of hope for something different in the second, or an increased amount of effort, and then all of that really kind of falls off, and then we just lounge back into our general depression of being a Sheffield Wednesday supporter. I'm going to be honest with you, but no, this was. I wondered whether this felt like a good reaction from the beginning. I'm wondering how much of this, I think we can get onto this, how much of this is just the pace and narrative of the game just slipping away from Wednesday. I think that's possibly the story of this game of football.
Yeah, it's almost like there were three or four sort of noticeable chunks of the game. So the first one was dominance, us kind of rattling out the blocks, looking dangerous. Shodipo looked just a nightmare to defend against and put in some really good deliveries. We got the goal fairly early. When did we? Sort of blanking on what minute we scored the goal.
It was the 6th minute, I believe.
6th minute. So that was a good corner across from Bannon. It sort of missed a huddle of the most obvious headers of the ball. So I think Dunkley and I also were in a huddle in the like on the penalty spot, and it went right over them, but dropped to Berahino, who took it brilliantly. It was a really good, strong header that he tucked away, and I really liked his work today. I thought he looked a very, very tidy player. Not just he was in the right spot a few times attacking wise, because before that goal there was a penalty shout for him getting sort of taken out when Hunt cut the ball back for him. So he looked bright and he was popping up in good areas. He had a header that just went wide not long after the goal as well.
It was in the 9th minute, yeah.
Yeah, but even just his build-up play, they had a corner I think they took short, and Berahino had to come back and sort of follow a man, and he ended up being the player that brought the ball out of the defence for us, and he picked out a great crossfield pass to sort of build the play at that time as well. So yeah, just not overdoing things. It's interesting because you see, this is the first time I've really got a chance to have a look at him, and for all the reputation, this bad boy and the ego and whatever else, he looks just a very sort of accountable, humble dude. And I mean, he took his goal very well. He was very close to getting another one or two. I mean, I like the idea of a kind of, like a humble, responsible goal scorer. Sounds like something I would sign up for. But he's, and I know this is very minor cosmetic stuff, but he's got just plain black boots on. He's not playing in like pink boots, or he's not an ego as far as it looks like on the pitch for a guy that has such a kind of, his reputation precedes him. I don't know whether it's a PR job, but certainly what we're hearing and what we're seeing from him is not that at all, and it's very pleasant what we're seeing. And if we can start to get results from that as well, then that's I'm on board for that. I'm all for it. I'm trying to think if we had, so that header wide was the sort of the next best chance after the goal.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then
because we did have I was going to say we had a very frenzied start from the off. There was a pullback that was just missed from Shodipo, and from there, and then it was recycled, and and I said, "Nye birthday boy Liam Palmer nearly celebrates his last day of the 20s by night connecting and heading home." That was very close from the off. So it was a very frenzied beginning to the game, and that was good to see from a Wednesday perspective, because we've come into the last two games of these very slowly.
Yes.
So it seemed like consciously something they wanted to address and wanted to work on.
Exactly, yeah. And looking dangerous. I mean, we'd looked toothless the week before. We looked dangerous today well, in that early period anyway. They looked like there were goal threats, and we should have been 2-0 up within 20 minutes. I mean, maybe it should have been more than that within 20 minutes, because we had other chances, but it was Shodipo was taken out for the penalty incident, wasn't he?
That's the one where Bannon made a brilliant through ball. Shodipo was there running in a dangerous position, fell from behind. It seemed a little bit soft, but I'd say it probably was a penalty, to be fair.
Yeah, they were pretty clumsy all round Shrewsbury. It was pretty They wanted to play a pretty physical game, I think, by and large.
That's interesting because I think that's something we can come on to later because I think there are a couple of other incidents of that. But Bannon stepped up for the penalty. I think
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the interesting thing is we don't see a lot of Wednesday players take penalties on a very continued basis. And I mean, it's interesting to say it's a penalty shootout. I mean, Rich is there, but he can't get a good view from where Rich is right now in time and space, seeing if they're any good at taking penalties. But I think it is different in that, unique one-off kind of situation. Like that is different from taking a penalty shootout at the end of like a cup game.
Yeah, definitely.
Which the only one we've really seen is the, the Huddersfield game. But the thing I'm trying to get at is like we don't know who else is any good at penalties because all we ever seem to see is Bannon taking them, and Bannon is pretty decent from the spot.
Normally he's very good. This was really bad because I mean, not hitting a target it's about as bad as it gets really in terms of penalty taking. I mean, rule one has got to be just get it on target, surely. But yeah, it is interesting because there's nobody else. In many ways, Bannon feels like an odd choice because he's so poor at shooting and goal scoring generally. Yeah. So it's weird that he's the guy that does it and steps up. It's nice that he seems to gladly sort of take the responsibility, but then when you have a miss like this, you sort of think, well, should he be doing it next time? Should it be somebody else? And I don't know who you'd pick.
Well, I would naturally think, but isn't it it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, this, but I mean, we've got a lot of strikers.
But would you trust?
I don't know. I think it's the point to say this is a clean slate, and then you would hope those players think that they have, I don't know, I think we're in an interesting position historically because, I don't know, the last biggest, most expensive, putting all your chips on the table, we put a lot of money, we've got a lot of chips stacked up and we put it on the square that was Jordan Rhodes. And then Jordan Rhodes is like, well, I'm not feeling confident, so I don't really want to do that. So
yeah. Well, Nuiu took more penalties than him during his time here.
Interesting, yeah.
It was an odd choice, but at least he was a striker.
But I'm wondering then, I don't know, like, I'm curious about decision making that happens about who takes penalties. Like, is there a pen competition on the training ground? Can you see that, Rich? Can you see is there a blackboard up? Can you get your binoculars out, Rich, and see if there's a blackboard to say pen scored, and then see if you can get how many tally marks you can see against Bannon next to the other players.
It's just Bannon again and again. I don't know. Because I think Bannon has been a good enough penalty kick taker. I think he's happy to do it, and that's a big thing. You wouldn't want somebody to feel like it was forced upon them. But I think Bannon wants to do it, which is first and foremost a good thing. I think he's generally got a good record of it. But as you say, a knee-jerk sort of natural reaction is to look around and go, well, should it be him when he misses one? But I don't think I trust Gregory or Canberry to take a penalty over.
Well, I don't know if we are to trust them because there's no.
But I've never seen either of them cleanly hit a football to this point.
Well, that's a good point.
It'd be asking them to do. Berahino maybe. I don't know if he's ever been a penalty kick taker really, but goal scorers like to take penalties because it's another way to top up your tally. If you're going to be a 20 goal a season person, generally they are penalty kick takers as well because you get 6 to 8 gimmies in a season along with the ones that you score in open play. I probably prefer it's a pecking order. I'd probably go Berahino, Patterson, the other two, but I don't know. But the long and short of it was we were riding high. We should have been 2-0 up, and then all of a sudden went. That's a big potential momentum swing, and it ended up maybe a just slightly delayed onset, but it did end up being a bit of a big potential swing.
Interestingly, I mean, Lee Gregory hasn't taken one last season.
Okay,
but he has taken a couple in the 1920 season for Stoke.
Okay.
So interesting transfer marks. I've got a record of this, which I think is pretty decent. I've never seen this before. He's basically he's taken in his entire career, he's taken 31 penalties. He's scored
Okay.
24. He's missed 7.
Ooh, that's a lot of misses.
Ooh, that's a lot of misses. Oh, that's pretty good.
So, are you able to pull up Bannon quickly on the same resource?
I probably can, but I'll probably need to keep buying some time while I talk about this.
Well, I suppose that whilst you're doing that, Bannon did have a fairly quick chance to make things up to the team and himself, because he had a volley sort of on the edge of the box that landed for him, and everybody was just sort of watching him get his feet sorted. But unfortunately, he went wide the other way with that one. His penalty went wide of the right hand post. His volley went wide of the left hand post.
So,
and
interesting enough on the penalty scored. So they've got this is on transfer marked. So they've given him a record of 7 scored, 2 missed, but 4 of these are 3 of these are Premier League reserve league games.
Oh, right.
So, and one of them's in the World Cup qualification. He scored for Scotland in 2012, 2013.
How weird.
So, no, he missed. Sorry, in that one, and he scored a penalty in the Prem in the 11-12 season for Villar against Paddy Kenny. But this is not updated to show. This is not updated to show his game today.
Okay, I'm amazed there's as few as that. 7 seems very, very, especially if that seems like they're counting penalty shootouts as well.
Well,
intriguing.
Oh, I just thought it was funny just because of such weird bloody competitions to record any stats from.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So we had that bluster. We were riding high. Should have been 2-0 up. Missed the penalty. Missed the next sitter, and then we sort of felt like we started coasting at that point and got fairly complacent.
Yeah. Do you think there was a vibe? And I'm curious about. I'm projecting you were there at the game. I think this game for me would have been. I think I've been astutely aware. Just it's been a disappointing free league game for Sheffield Wednesday. It hasn't been fun to watch from my perspective. Hasn't been fun to watch remotely. The experience of watching a game through iFollow is much diminished from the actual experience of being there.
Yeah.
Did this feel? I felt like at certain times this would have been a good game to be at. But I mean, did you feel that there was a kind of air of being a general feeling of dejection running through the crowd and running through the team as well, like after the penalty miss?
I just think it's a natural swing of momentum and excitement and feeling, because there's a huge missed opportunity, a kind of what might have been energy sort of takes over from the side that's missed the penalty, and for the side that's avoided conceding from a penalty, it's almost like scoring a goal. So there's G'd up, buoyed up. I don't think it was an immediate reaction. It just felt like I think it was a hot day today. We're having a fabled Indian summer moment in the UK.
Indian, some more.
So we've had 3 days in a row of warm weather in September. That's what that means.
And what does warm weather constitute again? Remind me again. What's temperature there today?
I think it's probably like mid-20s degrees centigrade.
It's a bit hot for a game of footy.
Well, it was sunny, and I think it was kind of balmy. It wasn't not balmy. It was sunny and a warm day, and I think there was probably a bit of that. Like there's an adrenaline dump, isn't there, when you miss as well, which does sap your energy. That's a total phrase.
I would love to take an adrenaline dump. I missed that outtake from the Crank series where he takes an adrenaline dump.
You gotta flush it, bro. You have to do like parkour onto the button to flush the toilet.
Well, when this is all over, Rich, you should come visit, and we'll do a keg stand, and then we'll take a big shit. There you go. That's a Luke and Rich North American party.
But you have that surge, that flush of adrenaline,
sure,
and the once that goes, you feel it's a bit like caffeine. Caffeine doesn't give you energy; it uses up reserves of energy you don't have. So once the caffeine fades, you're more tired than you would have been, and adrenaline works in a similar way. So you have that surge, that burst of adrenaline, all that excitement, and the kind of aftermath of that is feeling sapped and kind of a bit worn out. So I think the combination of the hot day, the great start, and then having all that energy and enthusiasm sort of dissipate in a moment with the penalty miss. I think that just naturally has an effect. I know people talk about dominating games for 90 minutes or whatever. That very rarely happens. Most games are a bit of back and forth, and most players don't have the energy to go hell for leather for 90 minutes. That's just not the way people are built. There's ebb and flow. So, but it just felt like we were kind of. I think there was it's all right as fans to look at the opposition and kind of go, "Oh, we've got these beat to an extent." You can't do that as players. And that sort of felt like, oh, they can't touch us, lads. We can just ease off the gas. We'll get them next time. That felt like the energy really from the team. Not next time, as in when we play them in Shrewsbury. Next time, as in the next time we can muster up an attack, we'll be all right. But we weren't all right.
I think that was interesting, like looking and thinking about kind of moving on. I mean, from the second half, I don't want to get too far ahead. We'll keep going back and talk about the game play by play. But from the commentary team, John Pearson said, I kind of expected Shrewsbury were in. Sorry, I just got a text from shout out to Calgary listener Paul, who said this team puts me in a bad mood. He's just texting me just now. I completely agree, Paul. But kind of jumping ahead to the second half, like John Pearson says that he kind of expected Shrewsbury to be struggling for energy in the second half, but he found that it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
But I imagine that you're probably more from an attitude perspective, like more buoyed from coming back from behind and also having that kind of silent goal that you've mentioned from, having the opposition miss a penalty. So they're probably buoyed in that aspect. I was really hoping going into the second half, like jumping ahead in the second half, just that we would have had more energy coming out with this, but that didn't really happen. For the rest of the first half, 28th minute, I thought Billy Peacock Farrell did an absolute amazing throw out to Hunt.
Yes.
Just chucked it like half the pitch.
Channeling his inner Schmeichel.
Yeah. That was a majestic hurl out to Hunt. And then Hunt did really well from there, kind of put it in some changes. And that kind of cycled through to Gregory, and Gregory just had a kind of swiveled shot that was a bit tame.
Yeah.
For the goalkeeper.
Gregory had some chances today. It's got to be said.
Gregory did have some chances. The 30th minute, what did you think about that handball?
Not much, to be honest. It didn't stand out for what did you make of it? It didn't really stand out for me, I don't think.
They were pretty apoplectic about it on the commentary team. So that's why I wanted to kind of get your view on that. That was
really okay.
Was it Shadipo who was kind of felled in or like tackled?
Yeah.
But it was the brilliant line of Ebanks Lendl handled, which is a nice tongue twister to think about. But they seem very, very convinced.
Okay.
And then that was another thing. So also on the 43rd minute, just while we're on that theme of kind of penalties as well, Rob and John went apeshit at Dunkley being manhandled from a corner.
That did look, that looked very, very suspect. But I think it's one of those that probably wouldn't have been a penalty because I don't think the ball was played yet. But I think he certainly could have got a yellow card because he did just judo throw him, didn't he? He just he got him like by the lapels, like, the judo style. He got him by the lapels and just flung him over. That definitely should have resulted in some. We're going to have to be, if we're going to win games consistently at this level, we are going to have to be better. We're going to have to be beat the referee, along with the refereeing, is just, let's just accept it is uniformly abysmal at this level. They are terrible. The linesmen.
Well, there's something else to get into a bit later, isn't there? Yeah.
I mean, I've not had the benefit of seeing things replayed particularly in detail, but he was getting he got things wrong outside of the big moments. So to trust him to have got things right when it mattered, you got to earn that trust, and he didn't earn that trust.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we had this thing of like, people get yellow cards for almost nothing, and then people do pretty awful tackles, and it just gets a talking to, or they can't remember who did it. There was definitely a moment where got who committed a foul. Someone took Bannon out in the first half, and he forgot. I swear he forgot who did it, because by the time the ball came round, he just told Bannon off for making a fuss, and it should have been a yellow card. It was a bad tackle. But that's just what we're just going to have to be better than that.
Yeah. No, Dunkley got a very, very paltry yellow.
Yeah, so soft.
Yeah.
Well, there was also the incident. Forgive me, I couldn't sort of make out which player it was that was making the breakaway. I think it was Shodipo. This is second half now, but made a breakaway from their set piece.
Yes,
was charging up the field, and they had two players. So basically, the first player had a go at him, and he jumped over the tackle, but it was a horror tackle.
Yeah.
And then the second one was like, right, I'll do it properly then. Both of them should have got yellow cards. He went back and got the guy that got him. Who was number 10, Vela, for them. He did book him, but the other guy should have got booked as well. Like, just because you miss with your horror tackle doesn't make it not a horror tackle. And it was only not that would have been a foul as well if he'd let him break his leg, but he jumped out the way because of self-preservation. But that's as I say, you see that happen, and then Dunkley gets his yellow card for nothing, really. He barely touched the player. I mean, the player was already fallen over before Dunkley got to him. But just terrible refereeing decisions is half of the course.
We should probably talk about the equaliser as well.
We should. I'd like to know. So, I mean, it was, aside from it being an absolute mess, I would like to know from a filmed perspective. I'd be interested.
Well, the funny thing for this was I was hoping to get more of your perspective because of the angle of the sun. It wasn't a pristine camera viewing, that I will say. The thing that I thought was good about it from a Shrewsbury perspective, I thought that was a decent 1-2 to play him on the byline.
Decent 1-2.
That carved him in well.
Yeah, brave bit of play from the winger. Decent 1-2. Bailey Peacock-Farrell got down. So this is my remembering. It was all kind of like a mush. But Bailey Peacock-Farrell got down to it. And it was just one of those where it sort of unfortunately sort of squeezed up between him and the... Maybe he should have had better hands. He probably should have had better hands on it. But it sort of squeezed up between him and the attacking player. It sort of squirted straight up in the air over Peacock-Farrell's shoulder. But I thought Peacock-Farrell got two hands to it before it crossed the line. I think it should have probably not been given, but I don't know how the ref or the linesman would have seen that. I think it was poked out of his two. I think he had two hands on the ball, and it was poked sort of underneath.
I just couldn't with the lens. I think it's one of those things where the lens is trying to adjust to the light at that moment.
Yeah. It was one of those days, where there was half the pitch was in very bright sunlight and half the pitch was in shadow.
Yeah, so it seemed poor. I think they attribute it to Bowman, I think.
Yes, yeah. It's the sort of goal Gregory got. Unfortunately, after last week, it was another not so good looking moment for Bailey Peacock-Farrell. And his distribution was good today, but I think he had a couple of little wobbles on his goalkeeping side of things. But a very frustrating goal to concede. It started to feel like, you get that feel of something coming down the line. They didn't build up much momentum, but they'd started to build a little bit of a head of steam, and we just didn't react to their sort of growing confidence. We didn't respond to it. We didn't match them for it. So their chances got better as the half wore on, and then this was not much of a chance. They're a team that has not scored at all on the road until today. So it's the sort of goal you score when you're in poor form away from home. we've been there ourselves many times. You know, you don't score a wonder goal, you score a kind of spawny, unreplicable goal that you still come away thinking, well, how are we ever going to score? It was one of those sort of moments. But they had better chances that they made later on in the game, to be fair to them. So I don't remember us having much more to do in that first half.
I thought there was a good moment as well where I think the ball came out to Palmer on the left and he did this lovely juggle over his
his knee.
Yeah,
that was good.
And then fed to Shadipo, and then there's a few kind of like half bits I can't quite recall, but then Bannon I think placed it just wide from there. That was kind of close.
Palmer had a decent effort from a free kick as well.
He did as well. From one from the training ground.
Liam Roman goal threat Palmer is really catching on.
It really is, and it was a real great swerving hit.
It was, yeah. Just
it wasn't on target, but it you know, have to. I think we just appreciate the velocity he gets his foot through it.
Yeah.
You know, that was about it for the first half. I said at halftime, I said we need a lift at halftime. I need a lift. Disappointing. Need to make these games count, and we look dejected.
It's so frustrating because I think from Darren Moore's point of view, you feel like, okay, I got the reaction. We've started so well. And the big what if of the whole game is if we'd got the penalty. I think we'd probably go on to win 3-4-0, and we're all talking about that was a great response. But the penalty changes things. They gained a bit more confidence, and particularly after the goal, had a bit more confidence. There's also, so the second half starts, we didn't make any changes. Neither team made a change at halftime. They were happy with the draw, which is, it's a feature, it's a factor. We're a scalp in this league, and at least for the time being, we're considered a team with promotion prospects. So from Shrewsbury's point of view, they're coming and they're at 1-1, and that would do very nicely. Thank you very much. Which makes them a bit of a dangerous animal from our point of view. They're happy to sit in. They start time wasting. They've got the comfort of they've already got what they came for. So their attacking was dangerous because they didn't need it to count for anything. You know, it's that kind of like there's no stakes. So they're almost a wild card kind of attitude.
It's just the nature, I think, of so much we've seen from Wednesday playing a lot of these similar teams of these standings, to be fair, is because they're sitting so deep and we're going for it. It creates so much space at the back for when they do counterattack. And there's so many moments I just see these teams counterattacking, and I'm like, I would just love Wednesday to get a chance like this in this game, but it's not going to happen because the fabric of the game is that they've got 9-10 men behind the ball.
And from our point of view, we're removing more of the defensive elements. We're removing more of those connective tissues to try and, force the game. But for me, and I'd be interested to hear your perspective, but I think it's a combination of factors this second half. So obviously we can't do anything about what they do. They were comfortable, they were bedded in, they were doing their thing. Fair enough. From our point of view, I think we made some poor choices in terms of how we approached that second half, and then we do get back into this bad subs territory. I think.
Is there a territory outside of bad subs for Sheffield Wednesday?
I don't know. I mean, Berahino back coming, getting bedded into the team slowly. Last week, Darren Moore said he was put on the pitch earlier than we would have hoped for. So presumably there's some element of getting him ramped up. I thought we were getting someone that's had a pre-season in Belgium and was kind of ready to go. Doesn't feel that way. Hearing him talk about it, it didn't feel that way. Looking at him play last week, he's come on leaps and bounds in a week. Hopefully we'll continue to see that. But he came off injured, but it looked like they were already planning for him to come off because Corbeneau had been warming up for a little while before it happened anyway. So I'm hoping that's a pretty minor kind of tiredness type thing that he limped off with, rather than being another injury to add to the list. So Corbeneau, that's a like for like. I don't have any qualms really with that change, although I think this was probably Corbeneau's worst performance in a Wednesday shirt. he just didn't have much impact in the game, and he didn't help Hunt at all. Hunt looked hugely exposed after the change was made, which says a lot for the work that Berahino was doing. But then the other two subs, I really just don't understand, and in particularly in the Piccalilli, Shodipo coming off for Canberra. I just have no. I would like Darren Moore to write me an essay on how they came to that brilliant decision.
Yeah,
because so for me, like, so would be the obvious choice. He's like for like. He's got a goal a couple of games ago. It's the same sort of threat. It's a right-footed player on the left wing who cuts in and presents a goal threat, like for like. Mm-hmm. And Shodipo had worn them down as well. That side of the pitch for them
completely
was tired.
Completely.
So okay, that's the obvious choice.
I'd even see Johnson.
Me too. That's the next choice. That's the second choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how you get to bringing on Canberra, and it was horrible. It was
because me and you, Rich, we're football fans, and all we've ever done is play Football Manager. We play Pro Evolution Soccer. We've gone to see lots of games. We've played a little bit as kids, so we do this. And then, but for some reason, there seems to be an inset in English Football League management where you just think, I'm just going to bring on some big lads for the end of this. Like, I don't have any ideas. I'm just going to bring on some big lads. Maybe big lad will do something. But that's unfortunately, we talked about some of the great geniuses of the game, and I think
big lad.
You've lamented how, seemingly the stock was high for David Wagner at Huddersfield. Or was it Klopp, or was it one of the connections?
Well, both. Yeah.
For being like, I'm just going to bring on a big lad at the end. I'm out of ideas.
Yeah.
They might do something,
Yeah. But in a way, that would have made, like, if we'd shifted to play 4-4-2 and put Canberra up top with Gregory, that would have made a sense to me. Playing him on the wing, it doesn't even fit the bill for chuck a big lad on, because he stood out there like it was a blooming religion for it. He didn't come in. He barely came off the touchline. That was a horrifically bad substitution. Wing was ineffectual again. I don't know why it's always Adeniran that comes off, but again, I suppose it's maybe an injury thing. So Shodipo's come back from an injury, maybe needs to. I think probably all the players who came off had to come off. So okay, that's fair enough. It's the replacements that start to get more and more questionable as you go along.
So we usually do this. We get to usually, check in on Chiboy Domhausen. Chatting to big Gaz after the end of the game, and DM on the subs, and he said Berahino had a knock on his calf in training. We knew we were really risking, so got him off. And then the same thing, Shodipo and Darren have had injuries.
Yeah,
I wanted to keep on the pitch, but we kept for games. We didn't want to have to break down. They'll get up to the speed where they can complete 90 minutes.
Yeah. But it doesn't explain. What I want Dom to say is, what was going on with Canberra?
And apparently Byers stiffened up in training on Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
So there you go. And he did, and more as mentioned, Patterson and Brown are not selected today, but could come back into it for next week. Yeah, no Patterson.
Yeah, no Patterson at all. Well, I feel sorry for Brown. I think Brown's been
great. I mean, that's an interesting thing. When you brought up Brown, I'm like, oh yeah. I've liked Brown when I've seen him.
Yeah,
I can't remember what did Brown have much feedback much features in the previous games.
He didn't play in the Plymouth game, did he? Either.
He played in Morecambe, didn't he? He was all right.
Played in Morecambe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty all right until he came off really against Morecambe. Yeah. So, is there any? I mean, I'm just trying to think of standout features from the second half. I mean, obviously we had a disallowed goal.
Well, that is the big thing to talk about. 49th minute, Shodipo cut inside and cracked one over.
That was a nice effort. That was really close. The keeper went for that full bore, so you know that was close.
53rd minute.
Can I say is vaguely sexual in the end?
Went full ball. 53rd minute, Jack Hunt did some great work to win a throw-in, and then he won a free kick on the right.
Oh yes, yeah, I love that.
And that's where they went from a break on that chance. And there was a really funny moment where like they tried to play it across, and Iorfa cleared it with the back of his head.
Yes.
that was good. Really and good. That was Dunkley fouling and pick up a soft yellow. 61st minute, we nearly went behind. That was some slack defending, I must say.
Was that the one where number 3 rattled it past the post?
It was a kind of an angled one-on-one with Peacock Farrell, and he struck it wide. Yeah,
he hit it well, but he hit it wide, thankfully.
And then 64th minute, I think the only thing we can really talk about here, apart from bad substitutions from the second half and those things we just mentioned, Shodipo. I thought that this was onside. I thought he was kept onside from whoever the furthest right defender, whether it was their right back or their right centre back for Shrewsbury. I thought he was keeping him on. I think it's close.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they cautioned on flagging. It's really funny because going through this is like, they've interviewed a wee tidbit of Steve Cotterill. First general comment. Second question, Cotterill on the disallowed goal. I've seen it back. It was offside. Of course he would say that.
Okay.
And then talks to Darren about the performance. And then the second thing is DM on disallowed goal. Clear goal, it was onside. Decision was wrong. And then he's even gone further on this, I think even further in the commentary, to say we knew it was a goal. I saw when he made the run. You always know when you see the reaction of your team, it was a perfectly good goal. That's what I was saying. I thought it was a great finish, let's be honest.
Well, I also thought I thought it was onside to start with, and I also thought his run to get to the ball was like sort of back, like, I don't know. It's just one of those, like, I was sort of hoping after all the debacle of last season with the stupid lines in the Premier League, I was sort of hoping what we'd start to have is a bit of a discussion about the offside rule. Because I think when you brought it down to that nth degree, what the debate should have then been, okay, so what the offside rule is here to do is to prevent someone getting an advantage by breaking that line, right?
Yeah,
that's what the aim of the rule is. So I was hoping we'd have a wider debate about the scenarios in which you're gaining from that. Because if Shodipo's run is curving back on itself anyway, he's gained nothing from that, from being, even if he was offside to begin with, all the defenders get a chance to get goal side of him before he takes touch of the ball. So he's not gained an advantage at all. I know this is like, I'm expecting a bald linesman in the third tier of English football to make this this revelation for himself. But it is kind of annoying to me because it's like one of those situations where it almost doesn't matter whether his toe was offside or a knee was offside, because the flow of the play, it didn't favour him at all in those situations. And you're not, that's where you think that it's like when we're looking at somebody's armpit being ahead of the tip of somebody's toe, you're like, oh, there is no advantage here. He's not gained by.
This is a beautiful evolution of the sport we love and us as human beings.
Yeah, but that's by the by. He took it, so I'm so gutted for. I mean, gutted for us. It's what I think we deserve to win today. I think we did ride our luck. I think we deserved to win. I think we played well enough on balance. That would have been a great goal. I thought Shodipo took it brilliantly. I thought his finish was fantastic. He looked great today. The leaps and bounds from last week Were incredible. He's definitely, I think I can maybe see him here, but he's definitely been to the training ground. I don't know about any of the others, but he's definitely, him and maybe Berahino have paid a visit. They've stayed in this car park like me and kicked a ball around over there in that field. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. We didn't really muster much. Gregory had a decent headed chance from a, was it a Hunt cross or a Corbino cross?
Not sure, but that was my last note for the game. 91st minute.
Yeah,
Gregory heads just wide.
Gregory heads just wide. Yeah, it was a very sort of Jordan Rhodesy type header.
Yeah,
like it looked good. It looked technically, I'm sure it was all like done properly, but it's just like stick your nut on it and get it on target.
He tries to go for the looped kind of angle, glancing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the top corner. How many times have you done that in training, Lee?
Yeah.
It's not as good as my penalty ratio. But let's put it that way.
Which we know now is very good.
Well, it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than I guess if we're including the history of Bannon's penalties from being a child that transfer marks have an insight into. Then I guess actually it's pretty good. What, 29-7? So that's like 29 out of 36. So basically it's about 80%. Basically, it's about 4 and 5.
When he was a toddler playing against his dad, the only ones who's allowed to score.
Well, we're all
that leg.
You know, depending on how many penalties you're taking against as your dad from a wee age, we're all behind, I guess. You know.
I always say you never win anything with kids, but if you're letting that kid run between your legs with the ball, that kid will win every time. That's my nascent, not very good Alan Hansen impression for people who are as old as you and I.
Hunt made a decent tackle in the 82nd minute. I think that was about it. That was a really good tackle to deny.
Did you like when Hutchinson did a full-blown murder but got away with it because it was offside?
No, I forgot another one.
He absolutely halved Udo, but it was the whistle had been blown for offside, so it didn't count. Technically, it was just a standard street-based assault.
Which is legitimized as it's on a football pitch.
Yeah. That moment immediately after the whistle is blown, but before play stops, Hutch very much sees as the purge. You can just do whatever you like.
Oh, that's good. Finally, I'll just finish off and I'll just wrap up my stuff here with some pithy comments.
Some pithy comments.
I enjoyed the commentary where I really enjoyed I really enjoyed Rob O'Neill proclaiming that Shadipo's like a new signing, to which I replied, he is a new signing. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, maybe it's a fucking duck.
It's probably Shodipo.
Probably Shodipo on the wing. Shrewsbury's, I want to say finally, Shrewsbury's away kit is a daring Dennis the Menace rebrand. and also I gotta say it was a bit, there were some wee Dennis the Menaces causing some hijinks.
They were.
Well, little buggers.
I did describe, I wasn't surprised that Vela got a yellow card at one point, because early on in the game I was describing him to my sister as he attacks the ball as if it owes him money. He definitely sort of played the game with that sort of energy, that joie de vivre.
That's funny.
So what? Yeah, I mean, it's a draw that feels like a loss. It's tricky. And we're disappointed with the officials, but then they did give us a penalty that, as you say, you've seen them given, but you've also seen them not given. So swings and roundabouts, maybe to an extent there. But what do we have a star performer or standout performer worth
It's got to be
making note of?
it's got to be Shadipo, hasn't it?
Yeah, Shapupi was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty. Larry David was at the US Open final.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
He thought it was all right. No, I totally agree. And then is it going to be Bannon for the?
Well, the funny thing is, I think for like
bucket.
a second decent, yeah, I guess so because of that. But I thought he was all right outside of that. I thought he was quite good. Going to be honest.
He was rather good, and if the second goal had been allowed to stand, what a gorgeous assist from him!
What a way to make amends. You know.
Yeah, I was actually slagging him off at that moment. I was saying he just slows it down when we're in these moments. He needs to keep it up, and then he just played this gorgeous pass through to Shodipo. It's a tough one. It's a because last week's very straightforward.
But I just see this being the bread and butter of our experience now. I mean,
I know
it's difficult because there's only so many. We're only how many games are we into this league season now?
Do you want my contrary hot take, semi-hot take?
I'd love your contrary hot take, Rich.
I worry that we've got a decent to good championship team, but unfortunately they play in League One. And I feel like that the sort of quick and dirty side of League One football, we feel like we're above it, but it's what defeats us and knocks us on our butts more often than not.
Yeah, results tell otherwise. Scorelines tell otherwise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's my worry. I think we're a bit sort of nice and clean and playing nice football. Do you know, sorry, just speaking about worries, I caught a little bit of Darren Moore talking before the game, and I don't know who was interviewing him from Radio Sheffield, but they said, "Oh, so you're a real believer in playing out from the back. Why do you think that's such a good thing to do?" And I was hoping he'd get round to what we're doing is holding onto the ball to create spaces, and then we graduate up the pitch that way. It gets us through our phases. He just sort of said how he likes it and how he thinks it's the right thing to do. And I was a bit worried about that because it's like there's got to be a plan beyond. There's no reason to do things just because it's nice and it's the right thing to do. It's got to be. I'm sure he knows. You know, he's steeped in the game, but it was just a bit disappointing to not get like, even if it was just an explanation for the more meat-headed, get rid of it, folks, to hear why this happens. There is a thought behind it. It's not just brainless. But it was a bit disappointing to hear him just kind of go, I really like us doing it, and I think it's good to do. I think it's the way you should play.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, I don't know if that kind of leads into like some mentality of thinking, you know, we're going to come up against some very pragmatic lower league managers who are accomplished in forging a probably should be more respected journeyman career in playing people such as Steve Cotterill.
Well, I think today we played a League One team. Well, I know we played a League One team, but it was like they got two big lads. They put the biggest lad on the fullback, and then they hit him with the ball, so that they win they win most of the balls going forward. if you get past them, they kick you. You know, like this is the type of football that is peddled in this league by and large. And we've got to earn the right. If we're better, we need to show that either by being so much better that we can avoid, the mud and the blood altogether, or we win the mud and the blood and then show we're better afterwards. But we're not going to just sail above it. We've got to learn quick. We've got to be there. It's all right saying we'll learn from this, we'll not do this again, but it's got to happen fast because this is a good start has quickly turned into a pretty middling start, and could also start to look like a slump very quickly.
Indeed.
Anyway, bought tickets to Wigan, so it's all good.
Oh, good stuff.
I watched that for 90 minutes and thought, yes, I'll have another portion of that, please.
That's usually how it works as a Wednesday fan, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Any other closing thoughts, Luke?
No, I think me exhaling and blowing out my lip is probably
that exhaling.
We haven't sighed a lot for a while, have we, Rich?
We haven't. No. We'll just make up with this. We'll do it on the Patreon. There'll be a special episode which is just sighing. For just $2.50 a month, you can get an episode of pure sighing
with the sighs left in.
You can get it'll be an episode of the ers and erms that we cut out, and we do cut some of them out, which might be unbelievable to people. The ers and erms and the sighs.
Brilliant. Cool. I'll look forward to spending more of my free time to edit that together.
Yeah, but think of that sweet moolah when two people are paying £2.50 a go. That's enough to buy you a bag of sweets every other month.
You can almost eventually dream of one day outsourcing it to someone. Fiverr.
Maybe we need an intern that we just make do all the work and don't pay them.
Sure, let's do that.
And we feel bad about it morally, but then just on a practical lifestyle level, it does help, so it's okay.
Have they rescheduled the Wednesday Sunderland game?
Not that I've heard yet.
It's
got to be chucked in somewhere, though, hasn't it?
Got to play that at some point, right?
Because we've got a game in hand. That's when you look at the league table. We've got a game in hand at some point, but it's going to be a tough game. Maybe they'll play nice football like us, and we can skip away holding hands.
Oh, maybe so.
Oh dear. Well, there we go.
When's the next game for Wednesday? We're away at Ipswich. Is that right?
That's right. Ipswich, which will be a real tough challenge.
Well, we're not sure. We're not sure. I guess what Ipswich are doing, and then midweek we're then away at Wigan, which you'll be there for.
Yeah, it's Sheffield Wednesday taking to a football pitch at the moment. It's a real tough challenge, regardless.
Oh, good. We're Papa John's trophies back at the beginning of October as well.
Oh, another slice of the action.
Oh, good shit. Good shit.
That's the real joy of this season.
That's what we'll look back on this season and say, that was all right, wasn't it?
Oh, remember the Papa John's trophy?
Remember whipping the kids?
Whipping the kids.
Top stuff.
Oh, well, on that note, I'm going to say cheerio. Enjoy the rest of your birthday weekend, Luke.
Thank you, and then hopefully, hopefully next week will be that present from Sheffield Wednesday that I've been missing. Fucking 3 points. You know what? As a final thing to say was that, and often, a lot of people sum up games like this as a draw and said the points were shared. I'm like, the points weren't shared. There is one missing point that is not shared.
Oh.
How about a new thing where we draw, but then we basically say that Wednesday get the extra point? How about that? Because we should have technically. It feels like we should have won. So
yeah, if you win on points in the boxing sense, you get an extra point.
Okay, so I'm what I'm going to do for listeners is go off and write that treatise to the FA, and I'll check in with you all this time next week.
Sounds good. Look after yourself, Luke, and same to folks at home. I'm going to try pressing my horn to see if this comes through on the podcast at all and frighten anybody that's nearby. Did you get any of that?
Toot toot, everybody.
Toot toot.